We have a full house here, and thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Kumar Varun, and I'll be talking about comprehensive monitoring strategies for your full stack environment in a hybrid multi-cloud environment, especially focusing on Kubernetes, Fusion apps, and OIC. And we'll go into details of what we mean by comprehensive here. What does comprehensive observability means? And starting with different services and products that are part of observability and management. Give a brief introduction of logging analytics if you're not aware of OCI logging analytics product, top use cases, and then I'll go through the demo and we'll take Q&A. I'll leave quite some time towards the end for Q&A for please feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A section of Zoom. All right. So when we look at IT environment, it consists of like Fusion apps, your identity and access management, Oracle Apex, database, OKE, or any other Kubernetes environment, your network and integration cloud. But when we are talking to different teams, here we have multiple teams involved. There are network teams involved, there are cloud admins, there are sysadmins, there are platform admins, and integration developers. You have application developers. So actually, the environment in reality looks something like this. When a business flow or a business integration or business applications are running, they're talking to each other. You have Kubernetes where your microservices might be running, which are talking to a database, Oracle databases, and Fusion apps or Oracle integration cloud, where you may have complex business workflows for orders, for invoicing, for your MDM or any other end-to-end business applications, and they're talking to each other. So managing all of these uh, in a holistic way, in a comprehensive way, requires a lot of effort, especially when you are working with the cutting edge technologies where you're innovating and building new products and services for your end customers. And the problem that we see that our top customers report is that when an issue comes, how can they get to a resolution of before even getting to the resolution, how can they find the right team and right people who should be looking at fixing those issues? So for example, when an authorization issue or an authentication issue comes reported by an end user, where in that entire top to bottom stack it is? Is it because of a network problem? Is it because of a front-end issue or database issue or somewhere in between? And that's what we mean by comprehensive visibility or observability, that when an issue is reported by an end user or proactively identified by your teams, we should be able to get to the right tier and the right application to fix that issue. And to enable that, we provide a lot of different services from OCI. And just to talk about observability and management suite of services, as we know, uh, telemetry data is generated by your core infrastructure and services, compute, storage, network. And then we have a set of foundational O&M services called service connector, streaming, monitoring, which collect metrics, logging, which is the core um, uh, foundational logging service. And then we have these set of observability and management advanced services, logging analytics being one of those, which is the Gen 2 of what we internally call Gen 2 of these Oracle Management Cloud Services. We have database management, APM, and a slew of other services. And I'll drill deeper into specifics of logging analytics and how customers are using logs for comprehensive or end-to-end visibility. Now, before we go there, there are lots of challenges with logs. Logs are super voluminous, right? They grow very quickly, and they are the very first thing before you get to metrics, which take time to stabilize, or APM, which provide visibility into end-to-end tracing. But the first thing that any new application or workflow that generates are the logs, and they're the least intrusive in terms of uh, building instrumentation. Now, they increase in volume very quickly, and because they have logs can have a lot of junk also as we start with, and as they mature, they get more structured and more informational. But all of them uh, generated across different tiers, across different services, need to be correlated to identify where the problem might be. So that brings a second problem of complexity of search, and how do we sift through the fluff to find out the meaningful logs so that we can take action, which makes it super labor intensive. You need to have an end-to-end pipeline which is reliable, where you're collecting logs continuously, as well as keeping them for long term, as well as short term, uh, so that you can also manage cost. And there are integration challenges in this, where you want to, once you have identified an issue through advanced analytics and with log-based analysis, you want to automate those. And we solve all of these problems with logging analytics and other OCI services, especially when we talk about logging analytics. It's a cloud-based service. It's a SaaS service for all practical purposes, in the sense that you don't have to worry about scaling up or down. We have customers. The Fusion app itself uses logging analytics for ensuring its performance and troubleshooting, and they ingest more than 250 terabytes of logs per day for running Fusion apps operations. Now, the way we want to give this to the users, for the end users, where we have, you may be a system admin or a cloud admin who have access to all the uh, all the compute, as well as admin access to SaaS services. We want to make it easier for them to start collecting those logs. That's the first part. You may not know exactly what the developers or the application owners have are dumping into the logs, but having that pipeline which is reliable, so that you can go and set up that collection and don't worry about it. And the second part, which is which are let me come back to this slide, which is the users who know what is the meaning of those logs, they should be able to get value out of those. So easy, just and faster insight. Now, to that end, the picture on the right that I'm showing right now, that's logging analytics in the center we have, and your application infrastructure can be on OCI, on-prem, or a third-party cloud. And we have extensive support for a lot of technologies out of the box, some of them listed here. And more than 2,000 problem labels are already defined. What that means is we have pre-identified the signatures for typical problems, for common problems, that we label the logs when for example, again, going back to that authorization or authentication error, we label the logs as we see that signature. And then we have on the top, to make it easy for you to analyze and get value out of the logs, we have machine learning based analytics, advanced analytics. But having said that, we are not exposing any sort of complex machine learning and AI jargon into the tool to start with. It's mostly one click, and we'll see that in the demo later in this call. And we have patented analytics methods which you can readily use for numerical clustering, for text-based clustering, for anomaly detection, outlier detection, quickly to get value. Now, as all of this is powered by a very sophisticated query language, and as users get more used to it, they can start using that query language. But most of the use cases, most of the analysis can be done readily using drag and drop BI tool like interface. There are lots of out of the box dashboards which we provide in the product, as well as on GitHub, and through various blogs and forums that we have, Cloud Customer Connect forum. And these dashboards are cross service. What that means is you can visualize your metrics, logs, and traces in the same single pane of glass view. So as I was saying, easy ingest. We want to make it easy for the admins to start ingesting, to create that ingestion pipeline. And then for the end users, for the analyst, for the developers and DBAs, we want to make it easy for them to analyze, visualize, monitor, and troubleshoot. To that end, we provide Log Explorer, which is, as I said, a BI tool-like interface where you can drag and drop different fields, extract it, and create different visualizations. You can create, save those visualization as dashboards in the dashboards to continuously monitor those. And finally, once you have identified an issue, identified a new signature, we allow users to quickly automate and act on those by creating alarms and integrations with other third-party services. So what I mean by easy ingest here is this case, when you point the management agent, which is the primary method for ingesting logs that we recommend, and there are lots of different methods available, we know exactly which uh, files, which DB tables, and what is the topology, what is the logical topology or the functional topology of the uh, database or other applications is there. Some of the complex one are Kubernetes or EBS and PeopleSoft. Now, just el- elaborating a bit more on this, as I was saying, there are multiple different types of collectors. Management agent, right in the middle, we have service connector. We have you can use functions or streaming. We have Fluent D and Fluent Bit support. You can also use Oracle integration. On the right, we have Log Explorer. We have AI-based capabilities and machine learning-based analytics capabilities, which you can use for dashboards, for reporting, for creating alarms, and to automate. You can also build your custom workflows and custom pages using Visual Builder. Okay, so going back to that complex diagram where you have these complex web or intermingled web of different application services and infrastructure talking to each other, and that's what is making the business tick. That's the engine of growth today. And one of the new things which have come up is Kubernetes, right? Which provides easy orchestration and easy scaling and microservices-based cloud architecture for building new applications, for cutting-edge applications. Now, with the advent of managed Kubernetes like OKE or EKS or GKE, it's very easy to spin up a Kubernetes-based environment. You can spin up a 20 node or 30 node or 100 node Kubernetes environment very quickly, but getting visibility into what is happening by the admins is not that straightforward. Developers, yes, they may know that they are in a specific namespace and they can query what pods are running or troubleshoot their pods and deployments or network. But when the issue comes to admins, they they have so many things on their hands that it's very difficult to get up to speed on everything. So that's where we provide this for DevOps engineers. They want to know end to end that, hey, are there any infrastructure issues affecting Kubernetes core services? Right? And what are the different object configuration which may be the cause of those performance dips or any failures that you are seeing in the pods. So we provide end-to-end visibility, and we'll go into that into that demo of it, how easy we have made for the end users to ingest and analyze. Now they get visibility into workload performance, services, and applications, and getting quickly to both the metrics and logs while visualizing the topology of the platform. And soon you will have the topology of the application as well as the infrastructure available within the product. Now, other part of being cloud native, as things are evolving so quickly, are the Oracle Fusion apps. A lot of OIC and your Kubernetes apps are talking to another third-party SaaS applications. They are talking to each other to make a business workflow end to end. And here, with SaaS apps, the security and audit becomes very important. And with logging analytics, we have customers who are using logging analytics for uh, security and audit purposes. For example, in case of OPSS, they want to track, hey, what roles and object changes, and this becomes especially important when in case of HCM and ERP, where they want to track long-term role changes or object changes in terms of payroll or people, and then they want to get alerted quickly. Other use case over here is that for the internal auditors and internal IT security teams, they want to quickly provide this data to them in a meaningful way and outside of the Fusion Apps product, even though we have all of these available in Fusion Apps, but it's having them in one place where you can correlate that with other IAM data, the user data, let's say Microsoft Azure AD or OIC and VB authentication. So credentials and grants, that's what you want to track. You want to track what the user behavior has been. Are they logging in from any threat locations, or which specific regions are they logging in? What are the failures and the successful login events that have occurred in the last 3 months or last 1 year, and what has been the trend? If suddenly a user starts logging in from a non-standard location, that's the anomaly, and that we are able to highlight. Policy alert in terms of specific role changes or object changes that users can generate alerts on top of those. Now, other part of Oracle Fusion Apps is the enterprise scheduler, and that's similar to what we have in e-business suite concurrent request jobs, where you may have one or dozens of Fusion pods running, and the way users schedule jobs. So a job which is scheduled today, it may not have that kind of uh, data for processing, and it's running fine, but there is a slow degradation. Let's say it takes 7 minutes today, and it started taking 7 minutes and 20 seconds. That's not big. But when the time comes for quarter end or here and when there is a lot of data, that job may the runtime for that job may explode, and it may not finish in time. So analyzing the ESS job schedules, what their execution time has been continuously, that's what you can do easily with logging analytics. And moreover, the job control that users have for ESS is around what are the different parameters that are provided for those jobs, right? And that's what we want to track, that hey, these are the different parameters or input parameters which have been changing for one job or multiple jobs, and then correlate that with the execution time of that specific job, so that you can fine tune. You can also look across different products and application to figure out what applications or products are running, or which users are running those specific jobs. We want to look at the data security, which data is being accessed by which jobs and executed by which users, what users are trying to do in terms of uh, running different jobs or scheduling different jobs. And that's just the starting point. There is a, uh huge, detailed volume of data which is available in a very structured way that you can use to analyze ESS job scheduling and ensure you have uh, good performance of your ESS job, as well as your REST API endpoints. Now, bringing this all together is the Oracle Integration Cloud, and that's where you are creating all these business workflows, like for ordering, for invoicing, for a lot of different other business applications, where you may have Oracle database, an FTP server, uh, your third-party application, a Fusion Apps ERP, all going through hundreds of different steps in a single integration that is running your business. That is the core of the business. Now, for integration developers, when they're going from uh, dev to stage to prod, they want to ensure that that deployments are smooth. That if when they're moving, when they're migrating or upgrading a specific integration, or releasing a new version, they don't see any dips. And this is a very common scenario where everything runs fine in your dev and stage environment. Moving to production, it changes. So what we you want to do is you want to quickly compare what were the execution parameters, what were how to these two environments are different, and we provide uh, three out-of-the-box dashboard today for Oracle Integration Cloud, where you have detailed health metrics, your uh, pricing metrics, as well as your details into integrations, failures, and error hospital, etc. Now, we are going to provide the Oracle Insight, or an Integration Cloud Insight, which was there in Gen 2, will be available in logging analytics, where you can get transaction level visibility, that hey, your milestones which were defined in Oracle Integration Cloud Gen 2 Insight product feature, what are the different steps being taken uh, by an integration and where the failures happen. And mm, an integration may have hundreds of steps, but the milestones or the business critical steps are few, where you can get visibility into those. And I'll show those in the demo later today. Now, other part of this environment is Oracle databases, where DBAs and CISO, they want to get a quick view into, hey, if users are logging in from one system to another system to another system to access the database, and maybe the malicious activity is there, how do you track that end-to-end kill chain? And how do you provide that comprehensive uh, reports for internal and external auditors? And we make it easy for DBAs and admins to view the activity on the database itself, not just the performance part of it, but the security and audit part of it, so that they can keep track and provide this data, provide this audit records in time to the internal auditors, as well as identify anomalous activities proactively. Right. You can go similar to the audit logs that we saw in OIC, sorry, Fusion apps. You can have do user behavior analysis, and this is an example of one of the dashboards which is out of the box right now, and you can correlate that with audit as well as alert, trace, and other application logs in your system. Now, these are So we covered a lot of things. Now, first we had the Kubernetes, then we had Fusion apps where security, ESS, OIC, and databases, and all of this could be running on-prem. Some of them could be running on-prem, and while others could be on OCI or third-party cloud. And identity and access management, getting a good handle on it, as well as your network, is critical for running these, and especially when you are on the cloud where only limited visibility is there. Now, here, OCI audit logs are your friend, where OCI audit logs or any cloud provider audit log, they provide full visibility into who changed the security list, who created a resource, who accessed it, and when, how many failures, where they are accessing from. So you want to look at the security posture in a comprehensive way in terms of cloud API calls, you want to monitor policy, OCI IAM policy changes, your network changes, and the relationship between different components. And that's what audit analysis, or this is an out of one of the first out of the box dashboards that we provided, which gets you detailed view into now users, what they are doing, as well as which resources are being modified. Have there been any security concerns in terms of, let's say, CloudGuard reported security concerns, and correlate them with each other. Another part of that is the network flow logs, where you want to look at where the users are accessing. We have geolocation enrichment and threat intelligence service enrichment into the logs, which tells you if there are uh, users, where the users are accessing your network, especially load balancer or other exposed services directly, or if there have been any access from IPs which have been flagged by the threat intelligence, OCI threat intelligence service. And we have tight integration with threat intelligence service, where you can go from logging analytics directly into threat intelligence service to see the long-term trend, what their current score is, and take proactive actions from there. There are a bunch of security fundamental dashboards on top of it, which are available on GitHub, where you want to look at the failures or critical security events that are happening, especially on the network security or Linux host security, uh, and IAM, OCI IAM. Now, getting back to this, now I think I made my I made my point clear that even though your environment may look very simple like this, but in reality, it's something very complex, which requires a tool which is easy to use, which is available to everyone in the same way, so that everybody can get started from the single pane of glass, from the same uh, source of truth, before you identify which team and which application and which specific uh, service or product that issue is emanating from. All right. So at this point, let me switch to a demo. Right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Right. So I'm logged into my demo tenancy and in Phoenix, and you can find observability and management in the mega menu, and then under observability and management, we have logging analytics. We have these top level options available. Home, we go to home, and from here, once it loads, now this is a customizable homepage where you can use any dashboard that you have to make it your homepage. Now, in this case, because this is my demo tenancy, I am looking at OCI audit logs and reporting how many dashboards and safe searches are created by the demo users. But you can create any dashboard that you have and make it your homepage. And that can be the landing point for everybody in the company. On the top left, we have Log Explorer, we have dashboards, solutions, and admin. Let's go to the Log Explorer. So this is the first landing view that a user sees when they come to Log Explorer. And this is a busy view, so let me go through that. On the top, you have the time picker where you can select, hey, what time range you want to look at for the logs. There are some quick actions available. On the left, we have the fields panel, which can be collapsed. There is a visualization panel where you can quickly switch from one visualization to another. Right now, I'm showing the distribution of different types of logs that I'm collecting. In this demo tenancy, I'm collecting 54 different types of logs in the last 14 days. And I see the distribution here. The VCN flow logs look like they form around 40% of those. I can quickly switch to a histogram view that over the last 14 days, what has been the trend of these logs. And you can see even in this demo tenancy, there has been some ups and downs. So there are lots of demos and experiments going on. Now, going back to the fields panel where you filter data. So the first thing that you want to do in any log analysis is getting to it's literally finding needle in a haystack kind of a problem. Now, in 14 days, I have half a billion log record over here. Now, in real scenarios, you may not have you may not be looking at all of these different types of log records. So, for example, in this case, I have logs coming from network, from Linux, from Fusion apps, from Kubernetes, uh, from EBS, from a lot of different places. And you first thing that you want to do is you want to filter based upon, hey, I'm interested in EBS or I'm interested in Kubernetes only. And that for that we have concept of entity types, which is, hey, these are the different target types if you're coming from Enterprise Manager that you may want to just narrow down to, let's say, hey, I'm looking at database instances only, or I'm looking at network, or I'm looking at integration only. You can filter based upon those. You can filter and select based upon specific entities of these types and look at the trend quickly that if there have been any spikes or ups and downs. Now, the key field that I usually start with is the labels. These are the problem labels. There are more than 2,000 of these which we have predefined. That action failed, action succeeded. There are informational messages, there are different problem priorities, client errors, all of these attached. And uh, these are not found in the logs. We have identified the signature specifically to attach these problem labels. Now, this is interesting that in the last 14 days, I have had threat intelligence findings 48 times. So I'm deviating a bit, but this is interesting to me at this point. And I have 48 records which were highlighted by the threat intelligence service. I want to look at where these records or where these access are coming from. So you can see from here that 46 of those are coming from Carson City, Nevada. And these are the details of this. So it looks like there was a specific attack or somebody trying to access this tenancy, some load balancer that I have enabled over here. And this is clearly highlighted and labeled by the threat intelligence service. There was other two records which were, or other two access which were coming from New Jersey, Clifton, in US. So that's a quick way to start. Now, let me go back to the labels where the first thing that you may want to do is, hey, I want to look at the different types of labels that are, for example, authentication error, this, and login failed. Okay, as you see, it's not just coming from the secure logs. So there may be access or authentication error coming from Linux secure logs, but at the same time, I have a failure which is coming from the audit logs from the Oracle database. Now, in this case, it could be the same user, it could be a different user, but getting to that point out of that 500 million log records to specific issues or to specific entities or entity types, that's the key first step that you want to do. So let me go to the query language here. So what I skipped earlier is all of this is powered by a very sophisticated query language. And in this case, I'm directly modifying the query to say, hey, I want to look at everything and show me the count or distribution of by log sources. And there is help available right here, which shows you what the different query commands are and quickly use those. There is Compass, which is available on right, where we have a lot of help videos also available so that you can click right them here and do a quick side-by-side walkthrough of very or some typical workflows or creating alerts or how to run query and how to do specific analysis. All right. So that was a quick introduction for Log Explorer. Let me close Compass. And on here, we have dashboards. Lots of dashboards available here. We have administration, where your detection rules, entities, different log sources, and parsers are available. Uh, and we have a new solution section which was released a few weeks back. And this is the first thing that I was showing earlier in my slides, where this solution for Kubernetes monitoring, end-to-end monitoring, has been uh, in production for last 4 years. It was built in collaboration with our customer 8x8, and it was available earlier in the marketplace, and now it is natively integrated. Uh, in this case, what you see here is that, hey, I'm monitoring two of these clusters of this configuration, and last telemetry that we heard from these two clusters was 2 minutes ago. Okay, but before we click through that, let's see how I enable that. So I clicked on connect data, connect cluster, sorry, and okay. And here, logging analytics discovers all the cluster that I as a user have access to. And I can simply select one which is not enabled and say, hey, where do you want to put all your monitoring related resources and data? And we can create all the required policies. In this case, I already have one. We can say, hey, do you want to install metric server? I already have one over there also. So I uncheck them. And what I will simply do is uh, configure log collection. So while this is running, and we'll see this in action, let me open another tab. Come back to the solutions page. While this monitoring is enabled for a third cluster, as you see, this is being configured. While it is being configured, let me go to one of the existing ones that we have. So I clicked on the Logan Data Gen Dev cluster, and the first view that you get is the topology. On the left, what you see is the summary panel where we are saying, hey, 0 need attention and 43 are in normal condition. These are based upon the pods which are running over here. You have 10 namespaces. There are 27 workloads, 6 nodes, and 59 pods, what we have. And from on the top, you have filter or selection for the namespaces and very similar time filter, but in this case, only two time ranges are available, 60 minutes and 24 hours. And on the center, you have the topology that these are the different namespaces which are there. you have pods running in different namespaces, and you can look at the logs for each of those pods, especially for the new issues visualization that I was showing. And at the bottom of the screen, you have the events, Kubernetes events which are coming. You can filter those based upon warnings only. In this case, I don't have any warnings. And if there are any warnings, the pods or the namespaces are colored red. On the right-hand side, all of the telemetry data from metrics from your logs is being displayed. And you can scroll through those, look at different metrics which are automatically from your Kubernetes environment. These are we are getting for platform, we are getting for OS. You can expand these, look into detail of OS logs, and you can also visualize the metrics side by side for correlation. For example, all of these three different with which have a common uh, hairline are also for visual correlation. Okay, so closing this. Now I can select different namespaces. And then the view changes for the topology based upon it across the namespaces that I have selected. So in this case, now I've selected 4 namespaces. This gets updated over here. And these are the different workloads which are running in those namespaces. And these workloads which are running, they're running on these specific compute nodes. And these are the pods in the end. Now, the metrics that you see on the right hand side or the logs also, they get filtered based upon the namespace selection that you have done. And then you can change also from last 60 minutes to last 24 hours to see what was happening to the same pods or same workloads. Now you can get into details of the workload. So you at the top you have the workload tab where we have details of the workloads. So in this case, the namespaces that are selected, they have these all of these are of deployment type. And now you see there are 2 more filters which are available. So for the selected namespaces, you can drill down or select a specific workload, and the metrics on the right gets updated based upon this. So right now the CPU cores used or available or memory used and available, they are based upon the workload. So in this case, Helm controller, or I can say notification controller. Now both of them are aggregated in this case. And but you want to go into these type of workloads of deployment type of workloads, they're running on these 2 nodes. You can narrow down to a specific node and see the metrics getting updated or the logs getting updated on the right hand side. You can also look at the logs again for the specific pod. Now you can get down from namespace to workload to nodes very quickly from here. You may want to look at the node. That's typically where the problems come up because of whatever reasons. Now, in this case, I've selected these namespaces. Let me select more namespaces. So I will get some more data. Okay, now it had 6 different compute nodes or OKE nodes which were available, but in this case, for the namespaces that I have selected, those are running on these 4 nodes only. And you can drill down into details of what the different configuration, what is the availability, what are the different versions of those. And as you move from here, you can select again, let's say I select external DNS, which is only running on this specific node, and you can look at the metrics available and what the trend has been for last 60 minutes or last 24 hours. And finally, we have the pod section where you can drill down into details of all the pods we have now. In this case, let me uncheck the workloads, and these are all the pods, lower level, instances of these uh, uh, workloads which are in this namespaces running, and you can get into details of each of those. Again, the uh, events are showing at the bottom, which can also be expanded. So this is one view of getting visibility into Kubernetes. And all of these logs are also explorable and analyzable in the Log Explorer. But here we are providing a highly curated interface uh, for for Kubernetes cloud native based application infrastructure and platform. All right, so this is running. I'll come back to it. Okay, now the second part I was talking about earlier is the Fusion apps. Now, Fusion, we recently introduced a capability for ingesting logs through REST APIs from any sort of REST API. And the logs here for OPSS audit are being collected through a management agent, which is configured to talk to a Fusion apps bot for collecting all sort of audit logs. And in this case, I'm specifically showing the OPSS audit, which is very critical for ensuring the security posture. You can look at what are the different changes that have been made or reported or audited. What are the different activity groups? Were there any errors in the OPSS logs, and what different types of users have been making these changes? Are these self changes or are these admin related changes? What keys have been changed? What roles have been changed? And from top to bottom, you can drill down into specifics, slicing and dicing, looking at pivoting the data in whatever way you want. So, and this is just an example of the visibility that you get from your OPSS or any sort of audit logs, uh, right to very core level details of what applications, what roles, what permissions, and what user activity was there in the Fusion Apps pod. Uh, and from here, since this is the first time I'm showing a dashboard, let me drill down into something. From here, you can punch out directly into Log Explorer. And these are the application role changes. I skipped this one earlier when I was showing this because I wanted to show details in the Explorer. Now, when we say we are extracting all this detailed information, you're punching out, and these where you can look at details of the fields which are getting extracted. And more extractions, more analysis can be done on these different types of fields. Uh, in case of out of the box log sources which we provide, there are hundreds of these problem labels and fields which are extracted and identified for you readily. But let's say you find something interesting, and let's say in this case, you want to look at a very specific. This is an issue, or this is a new signature that you have identified. So you can either create an extended field right from here, saying, "Hey, next time this come, extract a new field called username or this specific uh, app role that if you find." Or what you can do is if you found that, you can create a conditional label that if you find this again, uh, label it something like abnormal termination. I'm just making up an example of it. But that's the key part that we offer for users here, that hey, when you find an issue, you should be able to repeat that in an easy way in your analysis, basically. When it comes the next time, you should be able to identify that really, really quickly. All right. Now, other part of Fusion Apps access is the user access, where the logs are for access are only available for last 7 days, and you cannot really use that data to identify anomalies. It's recommended that you download those and keep them safe, but you need to keep the proper provenance of that data for the auditors, for security analysts on where they're coming. And here again, we're collecting the login, logout access information, as well as enriching that with all the geolocation and threat IP scoring details of where they're coming from. Uh, and all the lower level details, so in terms of identifying anomalies, and in terms of user activity where they're accessing from. Uh, ESS jobs that I touched upon for optimization of scheduling, for tracking different parameters, that is available. Also, if you'd like to, we have a limited availability program running right now. If you'd like to participate in these, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can engage with you. Uh, Database audit, this is an example of out-of-the-box dashboard which is available, which provide details into your how many database you're monitoring, what clients they have been accessing, uh, and especially around the user activity here, that what different users are trying to do and what their activity or again anomalous activity has been. All right. One more thing I would like to show. So this is the out-of-the-box audit dashboard for OCI audit logs. And here I'm looking at, and this is the demo tenancy, as I said earlier, but still there's a lot of activity in last 7 days, where users, more than 200 users are accessing this tenancy. I want to look at the compartment distribution or user-wise distribution. What APIs have they been accessing? Uh, what type of actions they are trying to do and what activity and do some sort of activity correlation. In this case, because I'm looking at a lot of logs across a very type of users, everything seems anomalous because this is a demo tenancy. No, people experiment with this, but when we find a standard user, like I use it regularly against me as a user, these are anomalous activities which we have identified, where they are accessing from, and what the different audit event types have been. Other view will be VC and flow logs, which are key, which are very voluminous. In this case, I'm looking at uh, more than 100 VNICs, which are there across multiple subnets and multiple VCNs, and going into details of where the where the source and destination IPs have been, what has been the trend, and also again threat scoring. Uh, Let's quickly switch gears. Right. You may have seen the OIC dashboards earlier, which are out of the box, but in this is a new dashboard that soon will be coming out, where you're looking at for OIC Gen 3, can look at different uh, OIC service instances, analyze them by project for integration for transaction IDs. Uh, and we are looking at, hey, I'm looking at five different OIC instances, and these are the different milestones which we have identified. These are the different action types, and this is a trend in the last 7 days. There is a transaction execution performance analysis, that which specific steps are taking longer, or what has been the trend, can drill down into details of which integration, which specific project, or which transaction is contributing to those. Now, so from here, you want to look at specific details of what the different steps have been, and that's what these widgets provide, where there are different keys and values which are available. We can drill down from top to bottom, and that provides you end-to-end visibility in this case. We're looking at, hey, this receive event that was done, start time, end time, and how many milestones or unique milestones were there. All right, I covered a lot of things, and in the interest of time, I will stop here and will take up any questions.
We don't have any active Q&A, but I heard you talk a little bit about limited availability, and if anyone was interested, do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Maybe we can get
Yeah,
some.
absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. So we are running a limited availability for Fusion Apps monitoring as well as AI workload monitoring right now. If you'd like to participate and to collaborate with us, we would be happy to work with you. Uh, Please reach out to Catherine or myself.
Thank you all and have a great day.